our evening live class. So, big welcome to anybody new that has just recently joined us, our followers.
We've had lots of new followers over on Facebook.
We've had lots of new followers, and I suppose a lot of that is thanks to all our oldie followers who share our page. So we really, really appreciate it when you share the page. It does actually get the word out there. Now, to get the word out there that we're actually live at the moment, what I need you to do is start commenting underneath. Even if it's just a thumbs up or a heart sign, or you know the way I always start off by saying, let us know what's your name and where you're watching in from. Have we anybody outside Ireland watching? Anybody further afield than the UK? Or anybody in sunny Spain, sunny Portugal, or anywhere that's a little bit hotter here in Ireland? So talking about the weather, it has been absolutely Baltic the last few days here in Ireland. Now, Dublin, where we're based, we actually haven't had any snow. We've had lots of frost, lots of ice, lots of hailstones, etc. But we actually haven't had snow. But if we do have anybody watching in from Donegal or County Cork and even parts of Sligo and maybe other parts of the country, but they're the parts that I have seen lots of photographs where they definitely, I've seen people have went to the North Pole this week. There's absolutely no need to go to the North Pole. We're getting all the snow we need, snowballs, snowmen, etc. here in Ireland, but probably the north and the south. So again, anybody that's getting snow, let us know what parts of the country that you're getting snow, and anybody that's in a sunny part of the world should just make us jealous and let us know what's the temperature.
Okay, Francis is watching in from Baltic Sandymount. I see poor Noreen is in bed, sick with COVID at the moment.
God,
so Noreen, get well soon.
Lots of Baileys, you know me, Baileys cures absolutely everything. But I was talking to a little one recently from County Sligo. Gwyneth is her name. She's actually a friend of my niece, and she was telling me that when she got COVID, her mum made her eat about 10 oranges. Her mother swore that vitamin C was going to get rid of it, and this girl is asthmatic, and seemingly she got it really, really mild in the end, even though everyone else in her family. So I don't know whether it works, but Bailey's works for me. But Gwyneth swore on the oranges, so lash into the oranges there.
Jane is watching in from cold Surrey. Rain is watching in from Wexford. It's cold in Galway. Good evening, ladies, from a frost.
Pink is the new red.
That's exactly what I was trying to say.
And when I see the post up, I said, was she on drugs when she was typing that up? The spelling errors were all over the place, the way she had pink spelled and the way she had red spelled. And I did try to edit it, but I couldn't edit her work because she had actually posted it. But then when we came into work this evening, she told me, no, it was purposely done. So it was probably a good job I didn't get it edited. So that's why I'm wearing the pink and the red cardigan here tonight. And the flowers I'm going to work with are pinks and reds. But before I start, I want to show people a couple of little flower arranging tricks. So one little trick that I have for you is fatsia leaves from your garden. So we call these fatsia, but the proper name is fatsia leaves from your garden. So we call these fatsia, but the proper name for them is Aurelia. They're very, very easy to grow, and I'd recommend if there's a garden centre near you, go and pick one up. They're not that expensive, and you know what? They grow like mad. And the more you take the leaves, so say for today's class, I took off, I don't know what, the eight or nine leaves there. And again, I purposely took the different sizes. So that's the advantage when you pick your own leaves, is that you can pick the sizes that you want. Where when you purchase them from a florist or even a wholesaler, you'll normally get 10 leaves in the packet and they're all exactly the same size. So little tricks that I want to show you is invest in leaf shine. But instead of using leaf shine, you could use any sort of oils, baby oil, hair oil, cooking oil. And on a bit of cotton wool, rubbed onto the leaf, and to be honest, you get the same effect.
And just letting you know, Efren is watching from California, and she says she's loving all the snowy pictures.
And it's probably absolutely gorgeous, is it, in California? So this is just our leaf shine on the fatsia leaf, and as you can see there, it leaves a lovely shine. It's a wet look at the moment, but it will actually dry out. So if you were taking any little notes for yourself, write it down. And again, if you don't want to invest in the leaf shine, is again use any of the types of oils that you happen to have around the house. Another little trick I want to show you is wiring up the leaves. So if you use either a 20 or a 22 gauge wire, and at the back of the leaf, kind of imagine it like fingers, okay? And pick which leaf you think is the middle one. So I'm going to take that one there as being our middle finger. They aren't always directly in the middle, they could be slightly off centre. So just do the best to judge which one you feel is as close to the centre. And approximately 4 or 5 centimetres up from where the stem starts, okay, I want you to do a little hook with your wire in and around that middle stem. So you can barely see it in the front where I went through, done a little stitch and came back through. So the 2 wires are still on this side of the leaf. What I'm then going to do is place my thumb on the stitch, because I call it a stitch, and I'm going to bend the 2 pieces of wire down at the same time. If you don't do that and you pull down one side at a time, you get more of a U bend than an actual kind of a skinny curve coming down. And if you don't put your finger on the stitch, you'll actually rip the leaf as well at the same time. So again, these are little tricks. I am going to do this the second time. So then I'm right-handed. So with your left hand, grip the leaf on top. It doesn't have to be that one wire is longer than another. That's a pure fluke, by the way. But the longer piece of wire, what you're going to do is catch it with your strong hand, and you're going to wrap it around the stem and also around the piece of wire that's the other end or the other leg of the wire. Now I will do that again, and if anybody has any questions, just comment below. Deirdre will call out to me.
Tina says she got her cups this morning. Thanks very much.
Brilliant. I've seen a couple of the photographs posted over in the Flurry Fun group. Everybody seemed to be delighted with the cups that we posted out from Hook Flowers. And it was gas. We actually were using them today ourselves here in the school for our own cups of tea. So if you did get cups in the post, because there was about 8 of you I think that did, make sure that you take a photograph of you drinking your cup of tea and post it over in the Flurry Fun group. And don't be afraid, or don't forget to tag Hook Flowers, H-O-E-K. So Hook Flowers in Holland, they actually sent all them cups over.
Just on Instagram, with Mudfit on Instagram wants to know, why are you doing that?
Okay, so you'll see when I start to make the arrangement. Sometimes, say that particular leaf, this would be a typical example, and you see how bendy and floppy that is. Well, this wire is going to be the Viagra for this leaf. It's going to make this leaf stand up straight, but also it gives me the advantage that I can curve the leaf and maneuver the leaf to go exactly where I want to. So you don't always have to do it. It's like Viagra. You don't always have to take Viagra, but sometimes it does help. So we'll show you again. Is there any men watching?
I don't think so. I think we're all right.
Okay, so what you're going to do is at the back of the leaf, imagine it like fingers, and then pick which one you think is as close to the centre. That one obviously is the centre, but it isn't always really obvious which one is in the centre. You can use either a 20 or a 22 gauge wire. Personally, I find the larger the leaf, the heavier the wire I go for. So I'm going for a 20 gauge wire.
Katrina wants to know, can the camera go closer when we're wiring the leaf? Unfortunately not, because if you saw the setup here, Katrina, I've actually 4 cameras on one tripod pointing in different directions. So that's the disadvantage of the live classes, is that.
Now the thing is, when you're on the professional commercial courses, because we're just using one video camera, we are able to edit and zoom in, and you'll have it on 2 angles on your camera or on your laptop at the same time. But for these live classes, we're actually tuned into YouTube, TikTok, Instagram and Facebook. We've 4 cameras all going at the same time, so it's impossible for Deirdre to
I'm good, but I'm not that good.
What I could do is maybe you can just show that leaf up at the, you can bring that in close there, and she can just maybe show
she's
the cameras
on this
there.
camera here, so.
Yeah, and hopefully you can see that there, right? So she's just bring it around the 4 cameras to make sure that you can all see it. So you're picking the middle leaf, looking at the back of the leaf, okay? From the top, I'd call that the top of the stem. You're going to measure up about 4 or 5 centimetres, not too high and then not too low. If you're too low, there's no point in doing it. If you're too high, you won't have enough wire to twist around the stem. What you're then going to do is on either side, we call it the vein. So the middle vein, go in one side of it and out the other side like a stitch. Do you remember back in home economics in school, you learned the running stitch? So just a tiny little stitch. The trick or the secret is place your thumb on the stitch and bend the 2 wires down at exactly the same time. Turn the leaf sideways, and depending on which is your strong hand, I'm a right-handed person, so I'm placing it in my weak hand with my left hand holding it and gripping it. The 2 wires this time are nearly the same length, okay? But it doesn't matter if one is longer than the other. But because one is a fraction longer, that's the one I'm going to grab, and I'm going to wrap it around the stem and around the other piece of wire at the same time. And then for the girl that was asking earlier on, now I'm able to manoeuvre. I can straighten it, I can bend it, you know what I mean, and I can make the leaf go exactly where I want it to go. So when you're doing flower arranging or wedding work or that, sometimes it's nice to be able to manoeuvre it. So that was 2 tricks I showed you with the fascia leaves or the Aurelia leaves. And again, if we have any garden centres watching that sells Fatsia plants, please put your links in the comments there, because I definitely recommend everyone to buy one. I just seen a post up there the other day from O'Neill's Flowers up in Carlingford, and where they were actually posting eucalyptus trees to somebody in Dublin.
Right.
Which I think is a great idea. You know, the way if you're too cold and you don't want to drive your car on the frosty roads, you can ring a wholesaler and you can get them to send them out.
Now, see, I'd like to post them with the man to dig the hole to put them in now.
Man. With no Viagra required.
No Viagra required. Kathleen says so she has it grown outside and it's a bit wild, the Fatsia leaves, but she says the house plant one is better, she says.
Well, they're outdoor ones, but what I do, I'm constantly cutting them, and the more you cut the leaves off, first of all, it keeps it kind of restricted, that it doesn't take over the garden, because they'll grow absolutely huge, and then it also it means that you'll always have different size leaves, where if you're inclined to let it grow wild, you'll have all massive big leaves. They're like big rhubarb leaves, and they're too big for most of them.
One of mine has gone like that. It's just gone too big. It needs to be chopped.
No. That lady, if she puts her air code in the comments, we will send everybody up to your garden,
trim it,
their own scissors, and they'll all trim your bush for you.
Eileen says, is the Fatsia plant winter hardy? Absolutely. Sometimes mine gets a little bit of a burn on it. Sometimes a couple of leaves might get a burn on it from, I don't know what
out of the leaves that I picked, because it was dark there, I did throw it on the floor. There was one of them there, and you can see there's a little bit of burn there. Do you see at the side? And that one there was just damaged, and I just threw it in the magic bin, I did. Next thing I want to show you again is a little trick with bear grass. So this is probably something you don't have grown in your own garden, but a lot of people have cordyline leaves, okay? So if you have a cordyline plant, okay, would you call it plant tree? Cordyline tree,
I'd say more so.
So it's like them big palm trees, you know, in the Bahamas or in California or on the lovely Bounty Bar beaches, whatever. You know, the big trees with all the leaves kind of going that way, that you'd sit on a hammock underneath. So that type of tree.
Well, somebody, I can't remember the girl's name, I think it was Angela was her name, sent me a photograph today on Instagram of my ship, the Symphony of the Seas.
I've seen that.
In St. Martin's, was it? In St. Martin's today, rubbing it in, she was, rubbing it in that I'm missing it. Kathleen says, so I should keep cutting it back, thanks for the tip. Who else?
Right down.
Linda says that she works in Newlands Garden Centre and they have them for sale.
Brilliant. Put the link up there, telephone number and website and address. I know where it is, but there's a lot of people watching here that wouldn't know where it is. So this is a little trick with your cordyline. Do you see the way you can use your false nails? Obviously you can use real nails as well, but false nails, and you can make your own bear grass. And where you could use pampas grass out of the garden, but you know the way pampas grass is kind of sticky and it cuts into your hand, you know the way, where this is actually nice and soft, it's absolutely fine. And anyway, if you have a pampas grass growing in your garden, everybody will think you're a swinger, you know that way, so we don't want any swinger followers here as part of Case Flower School. Now I will show you another trick with the cordyline leaf in a little while, but back to our bear grass. So bear grass is something that you'll find in a flower shop or again in the wholesalers, and this would be a typical bunch. I've taken a little bit out of it already. And the trick is always leave the elastic band on, because if you cut the elastic band, it literally goes all over the place. So what I'm going to show you is I'm taking just a small segment out of the bunch. And obviously you have the end piece where it's white, and you have the top piece where it's nice and skinny, and you get different length leaves in the same bunch. So what I'm going to do is this little bunch I have in my hand, I'm going to split it in half, okay, roughly. I'm not counting them. So I'm splitting it into two bunches. I'm now going to put top to tail. Do you remember when we used to share a bed, Deirdre?
Yeah, I remember.
Head to feet. I had to smell her feet and she had to smell my feet. So that's what I'm going to do now, is I'm putting top to tail. So I have skinny and thick at one end and skinny and thick at the other end. I'm now going to fold it over and give it a little bit of a shake, you know, that way, and you always get the odd little short ones. You see that slip out, and I'm just going to hook them down, you see, just that little bit lower. I'm now going to place it in my my weak hand, okay? So my left hand is my weak hand. So I'm going to place my left hand on top. I'm going to get my scissors and I'm going to trim the ends quite close to my fingers. So I'm leaving very, very little sticking out. I'm going to use either a 22 or a 20. I'm using a 20 gauge wire. I'm going to make what we call a hairpin bend. That's what it looks like. I'm going to slide it in there at the end of the grasses, pinch it together really tight, hold the wire halfway down, that's the trick, and I'm now going to wind that wire around 3 or 4 times and cut it off whatever's left over. And besides that one slipping out there, I missed that one, we'll just give it a little hair trim. That's how you can make some loops. So I'll just show you
Somebody
that again.
just says that will this live be, can they rewatch it to catch all these tricks later on?
Share it on your own page and then you'll be able to re-watch it again. So I've loads more tricks to show you. So again, anybody watching, just click share and it'll immediately go to your own page, okay? And then you'll be able to come in tomorrow or the next day or over the weekend and you'll be able to watch it again.
Gail wants to know, would formium leaves
Yeah, your
work?
formium leaves are flax leaves. They will do exactly the same job, and especially if you get them lovely winey maroony ones. And again, they're well worth growing. To be honest, you nearly have to burn them out of the garden. You can't get rid of them. You know that way? They're really easy to grow. So give them plenty of space, okay? And where the leaf grows from the ground upwards, so they're easier to forage. Where with the cordyli, you're trying to reach up kind of quite high.
And Amanda, just another one, said Clarenbridge Garden Centre that they have Fatsia plants at the moment.
Brilliant. So if you do us a favour, if you can put a link to their website, an error code, a link to their page, website addresses, phone numbers, email addresses, whatever. Put the information there. Make sure you have the area in, because the amount of people that watch these and they're always looking for contacts to buy these trees.
Patricia Sims over on YouTube said, Janette, you're giving away your age, talking about topping and tailing the bed and the sew and stitch in home economics.
This is it, you know that way. I'm not a young bird. Okay, so back to the bear grass. As you see, I just slipped out a small bunch. And then I'm going to divide that in half roughly, you know what I mean, I'm not counting them. And I'm going to put top to tail, so skinny with the fat pieces and fat with the skinny pieces, you know what I mean? So top to tail, and don't worry if they're a little bit kind of irregular, sometimes that can kind of be a little bit nicer. And then bend it over and give it a little bit of a shake just to kind of like loosen it up. And then any of the little shorter ones, you can kind of bend them back down again. If you have the time and the effort, you can actually make this into a heart shape, but I'm not even going to go down that road today. Put your weaker hand on top there to hold it. So don't hold it underneath. Hold it on top. That's the best way to hold it. Trim off the ends nearly up to your finger, but watch you don't cut your finger. Get your wire. Make what we call a hairpin bend, or a one-legged mount as we call it. Slide it in there lengthways with the direction of the grasses, and then hold the wire halfway down, wrap it around 3 or 4 times, and cut off the wire that's left over, and that's how you get your little loops. Now if you want tails coming out of your arrangement, so that's to give me loops coming out of the arrangement. If you want to get tails coming out of the arrangement, just take out a small bunch of grass, okay? Trim off most of the thicker piece at the end where it's white, because that's always the thicker piece of grass. It's harder to get into the floral foam. And the same idea, get your wire, make the hairpin bend. So everyone thinks that hook is hooked around. It's not. It slides in lengthways. Grip it together, wind it around 3 or 4 times and cut it off again. You don't need to wire it off. Here, we'll bring that up close just to show you.
So
And maybe bring up one of the loops as well, just to show them too.
Trying to get it to focus. There you go. Now it's focusing there on Instagram. And now it's focusing on TikTok. And now we're over to Facebook. There you go. It's focusing there. And over here on YouTube. Trying to get it to focus.
We're very organised
I
tonight,
tell
aren't
you.
we? So again, just to show you how I did that again, take out a small bunch, but trim off the white part at the bottom. Keep them all pinched in. Weaker hand holds it, okay? Strong hand twist the wire. So the weaker hand holds it, weaker hand is on top. 20 gauge wire, hairpin bend, slide it in, wrap it around 3 or 4 times and cut the wire off again. So this gives me my tails and this gives me my loops. So that's your second trick there for tonight. I've showed you tricks with the Fatsia, now I've showed you tricks with the bear grass. Next trick I want to show you is with the cordyline leaf. Now I've already showed you with the cordyline leaf how you can actually make your own bear grass with it. But the next trick I want to show you is to make movement or curls with the cordyline leaf. So what you're going to do is just cut off the bare point of it, which to be honest is nearly always brown tipped, and then bend it over or curl it over. So I'm definitely going to give away my age now. Do you remember Coronation Street? And Hilda Ogden, and she had all the rollers in underneath her scarf. So that's kind of what I'm doing here, is I'm making rollers, okay? And then with my stapler, I'm going to put a stapler up high and a staple down kind of a little bit lower. And you see the way you get that curl effect. So again, we'll do it again. We get our leaf, cut off the bare point, roll it over, okay? Get your stapler, staple up near the top, staple it kind of down low, and that's how you get your curl. Now there's tricks, you can double it back, and again you can curl it at the back there if you want. And before you place this into the floral foam, and I'll obviously be doing this as I'm making the arrangement, it's really important that you cut that into a point, like a dagger shape. so that it'll slide down into the floral foam. So that was a couple of tricks beforehand with the foliages I want to show you. The other foliage that I'm going to use for hiding the floral foam afterwards is Ruscus. And this is Italian Ruscus. It's imported. We imported it in from Holland, we did. But you can actually grow that in your garden. And again, anybody that's been following Deirdre for the last 3 or 4 years, she got Ruscus plants off Irish Green Guys. Now, Irish Green Guys don't sell Ruscus plants. They just did as a favour to Deirdre because they were planting them. And they sent her up a few, and hers are coming on great. But again, all them garden centres that's watching there tonight, and the ladies that work in the garden centres, does your garden centre sell Ruscus? If it doesn't, what's the chances of them getting them in to sell, like a Ruscus plant, okay? Because it is expensive to buy as a foliage, and like anybody that has space, it'd be well worth growing. They're easy to grow, just that they're slow growing, okay?
Yeah, it's very slow.
But once it gets going, it's kind of flying it is. So I definitely recommend growing a little bit.
Gail wants to know, is that just an ordinary stapler?
That's just a normal, And to be honest, that's young, so that is years old, that stapler, Now, the next thing I want to show you that I'm using here tonight is some twisted twigs. And we bought this in from Wicklow Foliage Farm, so if somebody would tag them there in the comments, okay? Bunch of that is very reasonably priced, but again, I'm only going to be using approximately that amount, so you can imagine the many arrangements I get out of it. And I'm kind of going for the pinks and the reds with a Valentine theme, so you can probably see love is wrote on my chest here tonight. That's what we're talking about, the Viagra and all that. We're feeling very romantic, we are here at Case Flower School. So again, if you bought a bunch of that, you could make a couple of these arrangements. And I know some of you for Christmas, I did use this in some of our Christmas designs as well. Next thing I want to show you, flower-wise. So I did advertise that we were going to work with lilies tonight, okay? And we have added some, to our conditioning and treatment of flower program, we have added lots and lots of new tutorials to it. So we've been doing that over the past few days. So again, if you're already signed up to that, you may have got an email, but if you didn't, just log in and there must be at least 6 more classes, is it, added to that program?
Easily, at least 6, yeah.
So again, if anybody is watching there and maybe your 6 months has run out, or maybe you haven't already signed up for it, go to our website, which is www.caseflowerschool.com, and go to the blog page and you'll find the blog on treatment and conditioning of flowers. Now it's actually a tutorial program, so you'll be able to sign up to it, and then there's 60 different classes, well 65 now, 65 different classes on the treatment and the conditioning of flowers.
Okay, so just a couple of questions here. Okay. So just, well, they're coming in. Okay, somebody's asked where did you get the red branches. Wicklow Foliage Farm, Noreen has actually answered them. Do we have a list of plants you could recommend for flower arranging? Yes, again in our blog.
So same place. The blog has loads of information. Foliages for growing for wedding work, foliages for growing for flower arranging. It's all in our blog pages, so go to them.
And they're older blogs, so you need to scroll through them to try and find.
Because all the top ones are all Christmas, and we can't really delete them at the moment, or we lose them, and I don't want to lose them altogether.
Could you grow Ruscus in a pot or planter? Would love a big garden, and I grow all our foliage, but it's so expensive.
It'd be probably very slow.
I'd say it'd be very slow. Yeah, mine is in the ground and it's very slow, so I'd say it'd be even slower in a pot. Hello from Baltimore, Maryland. Oh, I might be going to Baltimore in March.
There you go, free bed and breakfast.
There you go. Yeah, I am. Yeah, looking for somewhere to stay. Catherine Fagan, you're freezing, girls. We are. I think she means.
See, I have the t-shirt.
I think she means though that the.
Oh, the camera is freezing.
Yeah, but we are feckin' freezing.
We are feckin' freezing as well. Okay, a couple of little tips on lilies. Most people think that the pollen on the lilies, so this is the pollen in here, right? That if you remove the pollen, it's going to remove the scent. It's not. It won't affect the flower at all. Definitely not the scent anyway, but it will actually make the flower last longer. So think of this as being like the eggs or the hormones, okay, in the flower. And like any woman, your body is going to try and feed them eggs to go forth and multiply. So we're just going to give it a hysterectomy, okay, or a vasectomy. We're going to remove the eggs, okay, so there's nobody getting pregnant around here. There is no going forth and multiply, and that flower is going to last longer, because like a woman, she's going to put all the energy into her own body here now. Another kind of like myth about the lilies is that the pollen, that when when the pods go dusty is when you should remove them. No, remove them as soon as you see them. As soon as they start to go dusty, they'll start to stain the inside of the flower, and you'll have all like brown dust, and also it's going to mark your hands.
It seems like Facebook has frozen.
Okay.
It's good for you people. Sinead, I know you're watching. If you can let us know if Facebook has frozen for you as well. But we are over on Instagram, and we are on TikTok. So pop over to those if you can hear us on Facebook. Or Sinead Sinead's saying to refresh it and it should come back up again. So yeah, we'll leave it, keep going anyway.
Okay. So next thing, I have a container, and to save time, so that's all the tricks I have to show you tonight. And again, anybody that's just joining us, the handiest thing to do is share that video to your own page, and then you'll be able to watch it again at a later stage. But we also would love, if you're part of a flower arranging group or a flower arranging club, if you could share it to their pages as well. We would really, really appreciate it.
We're back on track. We're not freezing anymore.
We're back on track again. We're freezing. The heating is back on in the place. You see, we're saving the heating. We're saving on our bills. Okay, so I'm just strapping this in with a bit of anchor tape. I have the container filled with water, and I'm going to put 2 pieces of anchor tape across it. You know me, to be feckin' well sure, just to make sure that it won't slip off. Again, finding the beginning of the anchor tape is always a disaster. So I'm using 2 pieces of anchor tape. You can have them both going in the same direction, or you can do a crisscross effect like what I'm doing here tonight.
I actually think it's just the weather around the country that has people freezing, because a lot of them it's not frozen. I'm watching on Facebook and all, it's okay. So yeah, so I think it might be just a weather thing that Facebook is messing around, but it seems to be fine now. And Janette, a couple of questions. Somebody said that they've missed the module 1. They didn't get their funding on time. That started today. When is the next one?
Next one is, I actually don't know the date. It's March. I think it's the 15th of March.
I think it is. Where are we now?
Yeah, I think it is. It's in around the 15th of March.
Yeah.
And we're trying, okay? We haven't actually got the SkillNet funding yet, but we are hoping to maybe get at least 10 places, okay? So maybe if you're saying that you didn't get your funding in time, maybe you're going for social welfare funding and you didn't get your TESG form in time. As soon as you get that sent on to us, because it does take a little bit of time, you know, that way with the paperwork, because there's 2 stages to the forms. Like the first form is just an accreditation form, which is to make sure that the school is accredited, which it is, but we have to go through the process, okay, and send on all our paperwork. And then the second form that they will actually send out to you will be the approval form. And think of that as being your actual check, you know, that way, and that's what you book and you pay onto your course with. So what I'm doing here with our red kind of birch twigs is I'm cutting them, as you can see there, just like randomly, and just adding them into the arrangement. Now this is going to be a one-sided arrangement. You're looking at the back at the moment, but I will give you a chance to look at the front in a little while. And this is another trick with flower arranging. You see the way I work behind well, not all the time, but some of the time. Some people are inclined to always work in front, and what happens is you run out of floral foam and you're leaving a massive big lump of floral foam at the back. So when you get your main pieces in, don't be afraid to work backwards. But another thing I'm going to show you here, if I turn this pot sideways, can you see the fall on that arrangement, okay? I always say to the students, it'll be like me later on tonight. I'm going to have a bottle of wine in me, okay? And I'll be nice and relaxed, and I'll be lying back there shaking the shoulders, maybe. So make sure when you're doing your flower arrangements, you don't literally have to shake the shoulders, but that you're slightly lying back, nice and relaxed. Now, not plastic, okay? Don't want you lying on the ground, or don't want you lying back here. But that's to get visual balance with your arrangement. I have a couple of stems of lilies that are that little bit tighter.
Caroline is saying how many sticks?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 of them I used, but to be honest I didn't count them. There's one more still on the table. I just kind of used what I felt, and that's not to say when it's finished I might go back and add in a few
What's
more.
it you just say?
I just say all the posh florists who call themselves designers. I don't call myself a designer, I call myself a florist. I'm a hard worker. But you have people, and I'm not knocking them, I'm being pure slagging here, okay? But you have people who call themselves designers, okay? And designers design arrangements, that's what they do. It's like dress designers, hat designers, interior designers. So you have florist designers and they design arrangements. I have another name for it. I call it make it up as you go along and hope for the best. And that's kind of what I'm doing. I'd never turn around and say I'm designing the arrangement. I'm making it up as I go along, fingers crossed, and I'm hoping for the best. I have 4 stems of lilies here. That's not to say I might use 5 stems of lilies. I'm going to make it up as I go along. But a rule that I want you to follow now is that we always start off with small flowers and we gradually get bigger as we come down. So think of it as being your body. You have a small head, you have slightly bigger chest or boobs, not that big, but a bit bigger, and you definitely have a big fat arse or bum or whatever you want to call it. So if you were to look at the shape of me, you can see I get bigger or fatter as I move down. So the exact same thing with your flower arrangement. I want nobody's bum where their head should be, or I don't want your head where your arse should be. So start off small and gradually get bigger. So that's why I kept to one side the buds of the lilies. And one of these are bud stems, just they're slightly less open, and this one is definitely smaller. So that one is going to go on top, and you see the way that one there has a slightly more open one, that one is going to go underneath. So I'm going to start off with our first stem. You can see the way I have them all cleaned down. I cover all the treatment and conditioning as part of that free program that I explained to you there earlier on. And just kind of inserted in between our twigs and sticks, you know, that way. And always watch the flower. The amount of people who keep looking down here, that's not your flower arrangement. That's a bloody piece of floral foam, okay? Look at your flower and make sure your flower is exactly where you want it, and kind of like push, and hopefully it'll go down into your floral foam. I'm now going to cut my second stem. I'll turn this around to you in a second, okay? And I'm going to place this one, and again, I'm watching where the flower is going. Don't be watching where the oasis is, because the flower is not at all going where I want. Remember that bottle of wine we've just drank, or that I will be drinking, we want it slightly tilted back. So again, I'm just resting it back against the first stem, pressing it down into the floral foam, and I'll just turn it around to you there, that you can see like my two stems. And it kind of looks like the two stems have become one. What was that song, Spice Girls? 2 becomes 1, or 3 becomes 1. Like, I don't want it to look like that if we have one stem and then we have another stem underneath and a big gap in between them. Kind of like, you know, maneuver them into the arrangement that you're kind of getting a nice shape.
Trey says it's never a good idea to have your arse where your head should be.
Definitely not. Definitely
over on TikTok, we've actually quite a few people watching on TikTok. So guys, I would love if you invited a few people to join the TikTok. We're still sort of trying to build up our TikTok at the moment, so we would love if you invited people and send us a few hearts or a few flowers or something like that.
So you can see with the last stem the way I just split it, just so that I got a shorter head stem, I meant to say, on that head. So when I placed it down into the floral foam, I ended up with my arse at the bottom of the arrangement. And you can see there the way I started off smaller and gradually the flowers got bigger. Now, I know the smaller flowers are eventually going to open. I also know the bigger flowers are obviously going to die. Do you know that way? Because they will be the first lot of flowers to die. So my other little trick is I'm going to bring a little baby kind of in there, kind of behind them. It's going to be a long time before that bud opens. But again, that bud opens, the bigger flower, the mammy, my arse will be gone. Do you know that way? And that flower will be there kind of like to replace it. And once my customer keeps that arrangement well watered, you know that way, it means that they get great longevity out of the flowers. So in total, I've used 5 stems of lilies. Normally when you're buying lilies, there's 10 stems in a bunch, but if you're buying your lilies from your local florist or your supermarket, they normally have them in smaller quantities. When you're buying lilies, the more heads that are on the stem, the more expensive they are. The lilies I used today had 3 heads, and to be honest, it would be what I would prefer when I'm buying lilies. I always find 1 or 2 heads is a bit miserable, and I find 5 or 6 heads is too much. I have too many heads, I have too many bums, I have too many boobs, you know, the way to deal with. So 3 is probably enough heads to work with. Now, as I said, pink is going to be the new red tonight. So what we're going to do is adding in a few red roses. Now, I know people said, God, would you mix pink with red? Well, you can see Dunn Stores did with the cardigan that I'm wearing here this evening. Now, again, it's not going to be everybody's personal taste, you know that way, but it's just something different that you can show. So what I'm going to do is to one side of my arrangement, now I will find most of my roses are going to be similar sizes, but to one side of my arrangement, I'm going to start off down low. Sorry, I didn't get that into the floral foam properly. Down low, I'm going to start off, get in there you fecker, with a rose, and then I'm going to step up a little bit higher than it. With a second rose.
They're all saying they're loving the red together. Yeah, I'm actually curious to get feedback on this, what you think of the pred. The pink and the red mixed.
The pred, that's what you called it. I couldn't remember what you called it. Now, just to kind of show you so far, do you see what I'm doing there? The way I'm kind of like stepping kind of behind, and then I brought that shorter flower out to the side. Because always remember the sides of a flower arrangement, even though it is one-sided, you know that way, make sure that there is something else there. And I'm going to add in, I think, 1 more rose.
Laura is saying that she loves the pink and red. Until she did flowers, she would never thought of mixing those colours together.
This is like, it's gas what you can do. So I've added in 5 roses there. I haven't got a 6th one. So
there is on the floor there behind the bucket. Yeah, behind it.
Yeah, you can see there. Throwing the flowers on the floor. I'm going to bring another one, and again, I'm just going to bring it back out.
Patricia says pred is gorgeous. So you see, I've just created a new word.
A new word.
A new buzzword.
I suppose it was about time you probably created a new word, Deirdre. It's normally me. I have a little bud here. Do you remember the one that broke off? And I'm just going to stick that into the rear of the arrangement, or the back of the arrangement, as I would call like the yellow one in the other bed. Like if I got this arrangement delivered to me in hospital, you are that L1
to the side
that's in the other bed, and all you're getting to see is the back of my arrangement. So you always give the L1 in the other bed something to look at. So that's what it's looking like so far, flower-wise. 4 stems of lilies and a half dozen roses, and obviously for Valentine's Day it's bringing in them half dozen roses. But another flower that you could use instead, don't have them handy to me here, red tulips, and again that would work out less expensive, and I would recommend stem wire them. Now some of you might say, how do you do that? I think we're planning on doing a video tomorrow. You doing up tulips. We're doing
another video. Since Friday I think we have done about 150 videos. That's going to be content for over the next 3 months probably.
Keeping us busy. Okay, so what I'm going to do with my fascia leaves is I'm cutting them short, and I'm going to, and it's good for you to look at this from the back for the moment, okay? I'm going to go horizontal, what's the word?
Vertical.
Diagonal. I'm going to go diagonal. So I'm bringing this big leaf in there at the back, kind of slightly on an angle. And this other bigger leaf, okay, I'm curving this one slightly. I'll turn it around to you in a second. And I'm going the opposite side to it, okay? But again, in that diagonal kind of like slant going across the arrangement. But the bottom one, I'm kind of curving it slightly. So just to kind of show you there. So it's kind of like that sort. I'm going the other way. Okay, that sort of direction.
Anna May says, would you not throw an old wild purple in there as well?
So I'd love a bit of purple going through. Purple
would be gorgeous.
Would be really nice.
Somebody said, is
how
this...
would we pronounce it if you had purple? How would you pronounce predorpal?
Predorpal. There
really
you go. Predorpal. Somebody also asked, is this the type of flower arrangements we do on module 1?
It's part of it. We cover traditional and we cover kind of contemporary, and also what we have added recently, because as I said, we've been working on new videos over the weekend. We've added in a lot of kind of more sustainable foam-free arrangements as well. So it covers all aspects, but the way our courses work, the more you put in, the more you'll get out. So there'll be no dossing on our courses. So we kind of have the syllabus, you know that way, a bit like the Leave Insert. This is what you have to do. But you know the way you always get the ones that go on and do the grinds because they want to get the H1 in the Leave Insert. Well, we kind of offer that as well. So if you want to, we have grinds. The grinds are free, so it's not like the Institute or Dundrum. The grinds are free, and we'll give you all these extra courses to bring you on to that next stage if you're willing to do it. But like grinds, you have to pull the finger out and put your arse in motion and put a bit of effort into it. And again, with all our classes here at the school, you'll get that one-to-one, personal tuition for support and feedback on all your arrangements. Now I'm going to turn this around to you just to kind of give you an idea of what I'm after been doing there. So I've been bringing the leaves, can you see the way diagonally across? And the very last one kind of is in there, and you can, well, maybe you can't see it, but I've curved it so the leaf is looking out front. So it's really like the leaf is looking out that way to you, but the stem of it is going backwards, you see, into the floral foam. And it was just a way of covering in the floral foam there in the front, the way. It'll probably still need a little bit of ruscus, but it's just an idea for you. Now I'm going to move on to my cordyline leaves, okay? So these are going to be my little points. So I'm cutting these on that sharp angle that I talked about there earlier on. And again, you can see the way I'm bringing my hand in from the back of the floral foam. And I'm just going to have a couple of these random different lengths. You can measure them if you want to, but I'm just going to chance my arm. Again, do you remember I said I'm not designing it, what's the word? Making it up. I'm making it up as I go along and just adding them in kind of like at different lengths. And then I'm going to kind of like step back a little bit, kind of to make a little bit of a 3D effect. You see, so I'm kind of coming back this way.
We're getting loads of comments over on TikTok now. Lisa is on, she's saying it's fabulous. Jamie Hogan says, hello Deirdre and Janette. Andre says that they like it. TJ says loves the video. So thanks very much for joining us.
To get a bit of
Another question somebody says about module 2 that they saw that we were adding the bouquets to it.
Yeah.
And that she is already signed up for module 2, and when will she get it?
So a week to 10 days before the programme, as soon as you're all booked in and your payment is up front, and we'll be in touch with you and we can give you early access to it. And the reason why we're doing the early access to the module 2, now it's only just to that section of it, okay? It's so that you will be getting organised for Valentine's Day. Because Valentine's Day is obviously the 14th of February, but our module 2 starts on the 15th of February, so it's a day late. So by giving you the early access, it means that you can get kind of organised and you can start promoting some of them designs. So we will be in touch with you, letting you know all about that. This week is a bit hectic for us here at the school because our module 1 started today. And our module 3 started as well. So we're kind of getting them all organised. But as soon as we kind of get them in motion, you know, that way, and they know the ball's rolling, we'll be back to your module 2s and we'll fill you in.
Fill you in, absolutely. Alana says she's a florist in Spain, watching over on TikTok. Jean Malloy says it's fabulous. Heather Hogan says beautiful, looks amazing. Angela King, Up in Perfect Petals by Angela King, says it's stunning. Kathleen on Facebook is saying the light on the arrangement is not great. I can't bright.
This isn't professional. This is fucking free. What do you want? Okay, it's not RTE here. It's Case Blair School, and this is a free live class. But obviously, when we're doing our professional classes, we have the spotlights. I have the professional makeup. I have the uniform. Which this is all a bit of fun. As I said, there's a bottle of wine in the fridge waiting on me for when I go home this evening. Also, hopefully, my hairdresser was waiting on me, and he's going to give my hair a bit of a lift as well. So what I've just done to one side there, you can see the way I've added in the loops of beargrass. And to see by adding the 3 smaller loops rather than 1 big loops, you get a better effect of it, but plus you're not making massive big holes in your floral foam. And now what I'm going to do you remember when we taught you about diagonal, okay, with the fancy leaves? Well, now I want to go diagonal the opposite way. So I have the loops of beargrass in. So these are my tails of beargrass. So what I'm going to do, it's like stuffing the turkey here now. I'm going to shove these up the turkey's bum, okay? So here we have our tails up the turkey's bum, and I'm trying to give the effect that the loops of grasses shot through the arrangement and it came out the other side. Now I better clean the table a little bit that you can kind of see the effect of it, and hopefully it's working out. Obviously that's all gone into the magic bin. So there's my loops of beargrass and my tails of beargrass, you see, coming out the opposite side. And then the last thing I have to do now is fill in, fill in, fill in. So now I want to kind of camouflage in the floral foam. So any bits of floral foam that I can see, I'm going to use some little stems of ruscus. Now rather than cutting all them fecky little side bits of ruscus off and then being on Prozac trying to stick them in and try and cover the floral foam, what I'm doing is cutting them into chunks, as you just seen there. And it's a faster, easier way of doing it. And I'm lashing them into the arrangement there at the back. And then I'm going to turn it around the side and do something similar. Okay, Juana is saying that she's going to do this arrangement herself at the weekend. She only has white branches, but she's going to spray them. But the white branches would actually look really well. Gorgeous. They'd be absolutely gorgeous. It's just because we were on the pred.
We were on the press. Somebody's asking, what is the red tall branches called? They're willow, aren't they?
Yeah, twisted willow, contorted willow. And you'll get them from Wicklow Foliage Farm. But I'm sure there's other places do them as well. And again, if anybody, feel free to promote yourself. We're kind of not one of these, you're not allowed to tell anybody anything. Or if we can promote a company, or any wholesaler, any flower shop, any garden centre out there, we will promote them as much as we possibly can. Obviously when they meet us in the pub, they have to buy us a glass of wine.
This is it.
I'm on the white, Deirdre's on the red. But other than that, it costs you absolutely nothing. A glass of wine ever so often. Now, it could be a long night now, so it could cost a few glasses of wine. We're only slagging. But there's absolutely no charge for promotion. Feel free. And we love self-promotion as well. Tina asked, which you will do when you're finished, she wants to know how would you transport something like this. Okay. And again, that is something we go into on the professional programmes, because obviously it's all very well doing these if you can't, but you can't get them anywhere. Deirdre is saying absolutely fabulous. Mahan Flowers has joined. Mahan's Flowers, that's... Fiona, isn't it? Fiona that has 2 fake surnames. Yeah. Dirk and something else, man. Okay, so I'm kind of nearly finished with that arrangement. I'm happy enough with it. Again, with the cordyline leaves, I can give them a lash of the leaf shine. Our Fatsia I already had sprayed. The beargrass, it doesn't work on the beargrass, but it does work on the ruscus. Doesn't harm the flowers, but you don't necessarily actually spray it on the flowers. Keep that watered really, really well, and it means all them tight buds of lilies will all eventually open. At some stage, my head probably will be where my arse is, that way, but there's nothing I can avoid about that. That's the thing about these flower arrangements, they are going to be ever changing, that way, obviously as the flowers open. It's Fiona Guppy. Fiona Guppy, that's right, Fiona Guppy, our guppy supplier. So again, anybody that wants guppies are something that we use for sustainable flower arranging. We use them here at Case Flower School on the programmes, and Fiona has the franchise, the distribution of them, distribution. She's there in Tipperary or Limerick, or tell us where you are, can't remember. But Fiona Guppy, anyway, you can get all your guppies from her. Again, if anybody has any questions, put them in the comments. I'll go through all these tomorrow and I'll respond back to you. What you're laughing at?
Anna May Flower says she's driving with us in between our legs. I kid you not.
I love being in between somebody's legs, Anna May. We're actually meeting Anna May tomorrow night.
We are. We're going to a networking event. Another one.
Another one. Always out gallivanting. Well.
A lot of people are asking about the price. What would you sell it for?
As much as you can fucking get for it. This is all about fun. Obviously, when you're on our professional courses, as in, I'm giving you a little bit of a twig there, right? When you go on to our professional courses, we cover all about stem count, about suppliers, about sourcing the materials, about importing the flowers from Holland, about registering for VAT, registering your business, about delivery costs, about the conditioning and the treatment of flowers, about buying local, about trade cards. That's all covered as part of our course. How many flowers go in a particular arrangement. You can see there what I had laid on the table. There was hardly anything left. And remember, I made it up as I went along. So it's been able to look at material and knowing that I have the right amount of material to make an arrangement. It's like an experienced mammy. You know, when she looks at the pot of potatoes, she knows she has enough potatoes peeled to feed 2 adults and a half dozen kids or whatever. Or when she opens a tin of beans, there's less in the tins of beans nowadays, isn't there? Well, you know, when you open a tin of beans and you have 4 people for dinner, that a good mammy can divide that tin of beans between the 4 plates. Well, we can do that. We train you at that at Case Flower School. It's been able to work out the stem count, exactly how many flowers it's going to take to make a certain size arrangement, what it's going to cost you, and what the formulas are, because there's different formulas, and obviously overheads have to be taken into consideration, and we cover all that as part of the marketing part of our courses as well, about overheads, about what formulas you need to be on, and what profit margins you need to be on, to make sure that you, first of all, you get a wage out of it, but also that you cover the overheads. So for more information on all the professional, because these classes are fun, you might think you learn a bit, but as somebody came up to me here, oh no, we met somebody at a networking event the other night.
Right.
And she said to me, so when you do these free classes, and I hope nobody's offended by what I'm going to say now, I'm going to keep it nice, I am going to, Deirdre's watching me here, but she was saying, when you do free classes, she said, what do you get out of it? And I said, I get people addicted. So it's like giving them, you know, just a few little tablets just to get them addicted, and then they'll come back to me for more. So that's kind of what we do here with our live classes, is I'm just trying to give you a little taste, give you a few sweets, sweeties there, kids, if you're a little bar of chocolate, whatever, get you addicted, and hopefully you will come and want to learn a little bit more and want to learn how to do it professionally and commercially. So again, if you have any questions about the commercial courses, drop me an email, info@caseflourschool.com, and go to the testimonial page on our website, because there's loads of testimonials from students all over the world, America, Canada, not Israel, Australia, New Zealand, Italy, all parts of Europe, UK and Ireland, and it gets to see what they have to say about doing our classes.
Okay, lots of people are saying that they're addicted. And somebody, Tracy, wants to know, do we do a funeral course, module 2,
Module
Tracy?
2, it doesn't just cover funeral work, it obviously covers presentation, bouquets, hand-tied bouquets, and flat bunches, sustainable bunches, aqua packs, porta boxes, absolutely everything to do with bouquets and bunches is also covered on module 2.
Okay, show Martina how to transport it.
What you do, now there could be a bit of water in this because I wasn't planning on doing this, so the idea is, I'm going to put a bucket underneath me just in case. So the idea is, I'm leaving my flower shop, I take up my arrangement, I walk down the stairs, that's me going down the stairs, because we're upstairs, with the arrangement, okay? I put my hand behind it like I had a baby, okay? I'm now going to tilt it backwards, but I'm now on the footpath at this stage, so the water comes out the end of it, thank God I have the bucket there. So do you see the way I've just drained it? You can do that in your shop, by the way. And then I have the boot drop down in the back seat of the Jeep, okay, the boot's drop down, and then I just lie that down there, and I normally have an umbrella or a pair of shoes, and I stick an umbrella on that side, and I stick my welly boots or my runner on the opposite side, and that stops it rolling, and that's how we transport the arrangements. And when I get to on site, again, it's like lifting your baby up out of the car seat, and you say, this little fecker better not wake up, okay? So you slide your hand in under their head or their back, okay? And you tilt their bum, okay, we're mad about bums tonight, and you lift your baby back up, and again up the stairs and up into your delivery, wherever you're delivering the flowers. And you can see there, okay, the boot will get a bit wet, but put old newspaper down beforehand. Hopefully that's answered your question.
I think it has. I think it has.
No, to me, baby didn't wake up.
Lots of comments.
all over the place.
Anyone that has asked questions of whatever that we haven't, there has been absolutely loads of questions and loads of comments coming in. We will
Please
go
share.
back.
That's what we really ask you. Like, please share our videos. Like, get the word out there. Like, we depend on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube as our advertising platform. You know that way. So by you sharing our videos, it advertises. By you also commenting underneath or tagging people that knows flowers or tagging people that's in flower clubs, and really get the word out there. We really appreciate it. And again, it's sweets. Okay, we're trying to get you addicted.
Okay, that's it, I think.
I'm heading home, bottle of wine is on, want to get this hair washed and get the fringe cut, and I'm going to look completely different.
The vintage floral designer over on Facebook says, thank you ladies, you've made my evening from a floral designer, sorry, a florist.
And make it up as you go along, flowers. Much better name. But at the end of the day, if I called myself a designer of flowers, I could probably add an extra €40 onto this design. Because it's a bit like buying your knickers in pennies, okay? They do the same job, and you get 10 pairs for €5, and you go into Brown Thomas, and you get 1 pair for €40. They still do the same job, but unless you have that good-looking fella with the eucalyptus plant that doesn't need Viagra, then you'll need the posh knickers, won't you? Listen, we better go before we hang ourselves, and I'll talk to you all again. Really appreciate you joining in with us, and have a lovely evening and safe driving tomorrow if there's ice on the road. Goodbye, see you then.